Gas is up, carbon tax is up, and our government is concerned about the gun of law-abiding citizens. Today, we break it down and we try to make sense of it. My name is Nico Lagan, and I'm too conservative for the conservatives. My co-host Rob Ambrose, not woke enough for the liberals. We are the political orphans. As you can see, once again, my co-host is late. I'm not sure where he is, but I'm sure he will be joining us shortly. That being said, I was exploring the social medias today, and there's a very interesting picture that came up to my feed. I'm going to show it to you. And this is what started this whole episode, actually. The whole reason we're talking about gas, carbon taxes, and cost of living is because of this single picture right here. So I saw this picture posted by Canada Proud earlier today, and I'm just going to pull it up on my screen so I can see it too. So it basically says liberal logic, responses to surging gas prices. Australia, Spain, Italy, Poland, Portugal, Germany are all cutting fuel taxes. So the government is cutting the taxes that they have put on fuel in order to help the people to deal with those rising price of gas. Yet in Canada, what did we do? We rose the carbon tax by 16% yesterday. So I saw that, and you know, you can't laugh at that because it's absolutely accurate. It's 100% true. It is what's going on right now. While the governments everywhere seem to be cutting prices for gas taxes, at least.
That's crazy.
Yep, our government is deciding to charge us more. So, you know, there's a lot of people out there that will be talking about the carbon tax. There's a lot of people out there that talked about how it did go up 16% yesterday. But what really matters to Canadians, or at least to me, is what it actually represents in real life. Like, what is the cost of that price increase? And I'm sure you saw that in the Maritimes, just like we did in the rest of the country. But over the past month, Canadians are paying 30% more on average at the pump. All of that because of a war in the Middle East. But what does that actually mean? So the average,
yeah, it's crazy.
The average throughout Canada was about $1.28 a liter a month ago. Right now, the average is around 170 a liter. In Montreal, it was at 140 last month. Right now, it's about 192 a liter. As per the national average, Canadians travel about 40 kilometers a day, or 15,000 kilometers a year, give or take. Rural Canadians are more around 60 to 70 kilometers a day, or 22 to 28,000 kilometers a year. So those price hike that we've seen over the past month are costing Canadians between $66 and $120 a month compared to just 1 month ago. That's $792 to $1,440 a year. So those are not small numbers, right? We don't tend to look at it that way. We gas and we don't really think about it because we need gas. We need to go places. We need to go to work. We need to go put our kids in daycare, whatever it is. We need to go places, but $792 to $1,440 a year if this continues. And you know, I got something. I'm going to talk about it in a minute, but there's something that was said by a farmer in Ontario that kind of blew my mind, because what this could mean to Canadian is basic. I don't know how Canadians would be able to survive if what he's predicted happens, but we know that gas is not the only thing that went up. Obviously, diesel went up. Over the past month, gas has gone up 30%. Diesel has gone up 35%. And you can expect basically the price of everything around us to go up, because guess what? Everything is transported by truck, and trucks run on diesel. And guess who's going to pay the tab? You and I. But transportation is not the only thing. And I'm starting to see those videos online of farmers starting to explain how much it's actually costing them. Because right now, farmers are in the field for spring planting. A combine harvester or a large tractor uses hundreds of liters of diesel every day.
Oh
And
yeah.
a
Yep.
farmer, an Ontario farmer by the name of Darren Shrewsbury, warned that if this continued, we can expect grocery prices to jump 25 to 50% by September 2nd. So if this gas price is not fixed, he predicts 25 to 50% increase on total grocery prices by September 2nd. This is
That's
absolutely
fucking wild,
insane.
man.
Yeah, yeah, but think
Yeah.
about, like I was saying
Jesus.
earlier, so this is happening. This is happening all over the world, although we don't really buy our oil from the Middle East. We produce enough that we should be self-sufficient. We'll talk about that in a minute, but the solution, like I was saying when you got in, all around the world, governments like Australia, Spain, Italy, Portugal, Poland, Germany are dropping their taxes on gas to try to reduce the price because they don't produce their own gas, right? Everything that they get is from a different country. It's imported in, unlike Canada. But here in Canada, we got a 16% carbon tax increase yesterday, making the price of carbon 95 going from $95 a ton to $110 a ton. And just in case you didn't know, that $15 increase a year is something that will continue until 2030, until it reaches $170 a ton for the price of carbon. And the reasoning behind that is because somehow paying more taxes will end climate change, right? That's basically the, the reasoning behind us
Yeah, well,
paying.
it's, I mean, it's it's clearly a money grab, right? Like it's not, none of this is going to,
Yep.
even if you're a full believer in the narrative, Canada's responsible for 1% of global emissions. It's not going to do anything. So even if, you know, it's not going to change anything. We could change our behavior. We could drive to work in fucking rickshaws, and it's not going to matter because our emissions are just a drop in the bucket, and that's not even factoring in all the trees that we have here.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. They say 1% to 1.5% of our emissions, but I guarantee you they're not counting all the trees that they have. We are above net zero. We're probably cleaning other people's carbon with all of the trees that we have here.
Oh yeah,
Um,
uh, for sure.
so if we look at that new jump, so the new carbon tax jump is going to be costing the average Canadian an average of $150 a year. I've seen estimates all the way to 300, but 150 was pretty much the standard estimates. There's one thing though, I don't know if you ever heard about this, but there's another tax on carbon that the government doesn't want to talk about or doesn't like to talk about, and it's called the Clean Fuel Regulation.
What is this?
Currently it's a tax on fuel that adds 7 to 9 cents per liter of gas. The estimated
Hmm.
cost alone yearly is between $450 and $600 a year. Truckers transporting goods between Toronto and Montreal are already paying $6,000 more in diesel compared to 2018 just because of the carbon tax. 6 grand a year. And guess who's paying for that, right? It ain't them.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the stuff that goes into our. Everyone knows gas, grocery prices have been rising for the past 6 months or a year. Like these are the reasons why. These are the things that go into that.
But it gets worse, man. This is the what the fuck moment here. Imagine what the farmer said was true. The Ontario farmer that said that if the trends continue, we could see an increase in food prices at the grocery store from 25 to 50%. So I just did the calculation for 25% is low estimate. A single adult currently pays between $350 and $400 a month in groceries. That would increase by $90 a month. A family of four spends $1,460 a month on groceries, which would mean an extra $365 a month. Add the $66 to $120 more in gas. You're looking, so for a single person, you're looking $66 to $120 more a month for gas, plus $90 a month in food. That's at least $156 more in monthly costs. For a family of four, you're looking at around, most parents work, so they have two parents working, $132 more in transportation because of gas, plus $365 more in food. You're looking at $497 on the low end in added cost. And I don't know if you remember this, but I've mentioned this a couple of times, and I'm going to mention it again because it blew my mind. But the average working Canadian is already spending 97% of their income on necessities like lodging, food, clothes, utilities, transportation, insurance, internet, and cell phones, while half of that 95% is spent on government taxes. And as per the MNP Consumer Debt Index, 41% of Canadians, as we speak, are $200 away from not being able to pay their monthly bills. And what did I just say? You're looking at an extra, just gas right now is an extra 66 to 120. If you increase it, if you increase the food by 25%, the average guy is literally paying $150. So they're $50. 41% of Canadians would be $50 away from not being able to pay their monthly bill, and those are taxes. Do you know, like 42.3% of us, 42.3% of Canadians spend their sorry, Jesus, the average Canadian pays 42.3% of taxes on his income.
Yeah, it's a mess out there for sure.
But listen to this part, because this is the part that nobody's talking about, is if gas goes up, diesel goes up. But the thing that people don't mention is that jet fuel has gone up, and the numbers are going to blow your mind. Estimates are indicating that jet fuel costs have increased anywhere between 85 to 120% in the past month. Literally, they doubled.
Jesus.
Doubled.
And that's a huge cost for airlines. That's one of the biggest costs. That and just the labor for the pilots. But I mean, ticket prices will be affected for sure.
Air Transat and Air Canada just announced they are adjusting prices, meaning hikes, and adding fuel surcharge up to $25 per flight segment. Flight Center Canada warned today that a typical $1,500 international ticket is now hitting over $2,000 in price because of the war and the rerouting around the Middle East. But here's the best part. Canada produces 47 million barrels of jet fuel a year. That's about 80% of our consumption. We import 20% from the Middle East. Yet, we have 16 refineries right here in Canada, but Suncor's executive VP recently admitted that Canada still relies on importing jet fuel because we haven't built enough domestic refining capacity to be self-sufficient. We produce over 4.5 million barrels of oil a day, which is more than double what we actually consume. We have enough raw materials to fuel every plane in North America for decades, and yet we depend on the Middle East because we do not want to invest in our own infrastructure. And I don't know how this doesn't piss off people, considering that we have the third largest oil reserve in the world.
Well, yeah.
And can you imagine the opportunity that we have right now? 20% of the oil is at risk. Imagine if we were smart and we increased our capacity or production capacity to the maximum, and I don't know, maybe sell to the people that want gas all over the world.
Oh yeah, we could be making money here. We could be making a ton of money. This is, I mean, this really exposes the sort of the failed policies of the last 10 years, failed economic policies. And
Oh,
yeah, it's obviously too late now for this crisis. But it's like the saying goes, the best time to start, dig in for new minerals, for getting increasing export capacity for oil. The best time to do that was probably 10 or 15 years ago. But the second best time is right now. Right? Like it should have been done, but it wasn't. But like we should be doing it right now. This is absolutely exposing. And yeah, you would think people would be pissed off. You would think people would be like, what the fuck is going on? Why are we? A lot of people don't realize that, like, if you live in the East Coast in Canada, most of your oil, most of your gasoline comes from oil shipped from the Middle East. This is
yep.
crazy. We have what, the second largest oil reserves in the world. Why are we
Third,
shipping oil from the Middle East? Third, yeah.
because we are not building pipelines between Alberta and the east. That's why.
Yes.
Because
Yep.
provinces like Ontario and Quebec do not want to build those pipelines because we have a bunch of individuals that have veto powers to say no to this. So instead, we're
It's a fuck
affected by
system.
what goes on in the Middle East, and we get
Yeah.
screwed. Canadians get screwed. But the thing is, not only would it be good business to produce our own oil, but we would increase our economy by giving great paying jobs to people. We could take advantage of situations like today, or what's going on over the past month. We wouldn't need to be affected by it, but we choose to be affected by it by leaving our natural resources in the ground because of red tape policies. It is impossible. I don't care if you're conspiracy theorists or you're not. Can somebody out there really believe that this is not done on purpose? Because there's no way this was not predictable that this could happen. You will never have too much oil. Never. You will never. You could stockpile that shit forever if you could. Somebody's going to buy it. You're going to be able to buy oil. It's like saying, oh, you know what? We need to leave our gold in the ground because it's not worth it. People are
Yeah.
always going to want gold. Same thing for gas. They call it the black gold for a reason. It's like saying we have too much water. You know what? We have too much water. No, you cannot have too much water. You cannot have too much gold, and you cannot have too much gas. Yet we keep it in the ground. Talk about shooting yourself in the foot. So I don't care if you're like me and you believe that this is done on purpose because we're going to bring in those lockdowns, those energy lockdowns to sell us the idea of 15-minute cities because we don't need to go anywhere, or that Mark Carney is more concerned about protecting 30% of our land and waterways by 2030 than he is about making sure that hard working Canadians can afford to put food on their table. But this is the whole point, is we have all the ingredients to be as rich as Saudi Arabia, and we
Oh,
choose
easy.
to
Easy. We're choosing not to.
destroy our economy. We would, because they just have gas. We have all the natural resources, all the rare elements that we have in Canada. It's insane. We have all the minerals. We have the trees. We have oil and gas. We have hydroelectricity. We have a massive piece of land, second biggest country on the planet,
Oh yeah.
and a
Yeah, yeah. No,
population of
there's
40 million
well,
people. We
well
should be
that's
rich.
our wealth. That's where our wealth is.
Yep.
And if you have a government who fundamentally believes that it is immoral to extract your natural resources, and you're a country whose only real advantage comes from its natural resources, that's a fundamental mismatch. And what you're going to see is exactly what we see: 1% economic growth over the last 10 years. Not even 1% a year. And I always say that because 1% a year would be bad enough. But 1% over 10 years, it's like 0.10% a year. It's insane.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is absolutely insane when you think about it. I just noticed somebody's telling me to put up my mic. Can you hear me well?
I thought your mic was fine. Maybe a
Yeah,
little low, but
yeah, that's interesting. I think they made some changes to. Can you hear me better now? Is it louder at
to me
all?
it sounds fine. I don't know. To any you guys, what do you think? What's the mic situation like right now?
Yeah, yeah. Just just so we're all on the same page, because every time they do a change in this app, like in the software I used to stream, it resets everything. I had to re-put everything by hand earlier, so that might be that.
Yeah, it looks like it's okay.
Um, it's okay. Yeah, that's fine. Cool. Awesome. Because I tend to scream, I tend to speak very loudly, so I can't put my microphone too loud. So I got to be
Yes.
careful with that so I don't blow your eardrums. But I'm curious to see what people, what our listeners are seeing out there, because, you know, it's easy to live in our bubbles and just see that this is just a personal problem, but this is something that affects every single Canadian out there. And it always, I'm always wondering pretty much every single day, what is it going to take for the average Canadian, for good Canadian, just the average working Canadian, to just say enough? I'm tired of this. It needs to stop.
Well, I
Because
would have thought I would have thought it was 10 years at 1% growth, but I guess not.
but you know what I've been saying for a while is simply that it hasn't hit the average Canadian hard enough for them to
Yeah.
really start questioning.
Yep.
And I'm wondering if what's going on right now is not the opportunity to wake up. Because if this does not wake up, if the next few months, because if the war continues for a few months, Canadians are really going to be hurting. Because I don't know if you saw this, but the Food Bank Canada is now, you were allowed to go to Food Bank Canada twice. Like, as a Canadian, you could go there
Mhm.
twice in a month in order to get food for you and your family. Food Bank Canada is hurting so much that they cut visit to one a month, and they will give you less food than you were receiving per visit. So not
Wow.
only, and last time I checked, it was over 2 million visits a
Yeah.
month. That,
Yeah. I mean, people are
that's
hurting.
insane. Yeah,
People are
we're
hurting out there.
hurting when we have all the natural resources in the world. This is the part that I don't understand. This is the part that I don't get from the average Canadian, is considering all the natural resources that we have. We're looking at an economy being completely destroyed, and we have the perfect opportunity to boost it if we really wanted to. We could put people to work literally next month if we really wanted to, maybe before that. We could start making, we can start producing jobs in a matter of weeks
Oh yeah.
if we really wanted to, but we choose not to. We literally choose not to do it.
Yeah. And you know, I don't. Yeah, it boggles the mind. And like the thing I also don't understand is like it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier. Like, you don't even need to argue that like climate change is a hoax. Let's just put all that aside.
Exactly.
Let's say you believe everything about the climate change
Yep.
narrative. Nothing that we do in Canada is going to fucking make a difference. So why are we handicapping our country? Why are we, you know, we represent 1% of total global emissions. So if we could drastically cut our emissions by 25% over 5 years, which would be massive, and would also make us much poorer,
Yeah.
you would see a drop of 0.25%, maybe, if that. And it doesn't make any fucking sense. Even if you believe in the shit, even if you believe the narratives, like just from a pure effectiveness standpoint, it's not doing anything. So why are we willingly, happily making ourselves poor just to feel good, just for this virtue signaling nonsense?
And that's the real question every single Canadian out there should be asking, because you have guys like me that see 10 years down the road and been thinking about this for years, but you don't need to. As you said,
No.
you could literally believe that climate change is real and that we really have an impact on it, and look at this and say, this makes no sense. I'm going to destroy our economy for what? My
Vibes and
beliefs?
feels. Yeah, vibes and feels. So you can
It's
so that
absolutely insane.
so they can look down their nose at Americans and be like, "Well, we're not American. At least we're not American." It's utter
Oh
fucking
boy.
nonsense.
Agreed. So, on that note, guys, we do have a guest joining us in a minute. Tracey, you're ready to go. I just need to speak about our sponsor and we're going to jump right in. This episode of The Political Orphans brought to you by Miss Cleo's Spet Treats, 100% natural, healthy dog treats, free from preservative, additive, and fillers, made by hand right here in Canada. Not only are the treats made by hand, but the meat is sourced locally from Manitoba farms, so none of that Chinese crap for your dog, because your dog deserves better. If you want to try it out, go to Cleo's Cookies and Treats.ca. Use the discount code Political Orphans to get 20% off your entire purchase. Just check the description below. All the details are there. But for now, we are joined by CCFR's VP of Public Relations, Tracey Wilson. And we're going to be talking about how the gun buyback pretty much finished 2 days ago, and what this means for
I heard
Canadians. That. Tracey, bonjour.
Hey guys.
Hey Tracey, good to see you.
Oh yeah, it is really good to see you guys too. So much crazy stuff going on. It's been so busy, and yeah, it's nice to give an update.
So, yeah, people are asking. People keep commenting, keep texting me. It's one of my buddies yesterday. He's like, hey, what's happening with this and this? I'm like, okay, I'm going to reach out to Tracey. I get it. Yeah. He was basically telling me it was time. It was time for you to come back. So let's start at the beginning. The gun buyback portion of the gun grab has ended. It was March 31st, so 2 days ago. Give us an update. What's the final results of participation?
Well, you will remember that we talked about this before, and there's about 2 million firearms affected by the Liberal government's ban since May of 2020. And they had cobbled together this crazy buyback scam of a program where, compensation is not guaranteed. They were giving these wild estimates, like a $4,000 H&K. They were offering $2 for it. It was like the worst mess you've ever seen. Deployed soldiers being gone the entire time this thing is launched and being left out of it. We heard, actually, I did an interview the other night with CBC, and they spoke to somebody who's actually an executor to a will. So he inherited one of these firearms. Well, those people can't participate either. So he's stuck with this gun that he inherited. He didn't actually want it, but he can't participate either. Anyways, this thing was just wrought with errors, no callbacks from the center. In any event, Gun Grab Gary had said that he would pay for around 136,000 firearms out of an estimated 2 million impacted. And of course, we've got the numbers now, and I think it ended up at 67,000 firearms declared. Now, don't forget, not a single firearm has been confiscated yet. Those are just people going into the portal and declaring them. And our number one mission right now is to get people who have declared them to now withdraw so that we can shrink those numbers back down and completely humiliate them. So that's if you look at the overall impacted firearms, you're looking somewhere about a 3.5% compliance rate, and about, I think it was 48% of what they said they were going to pay for, which was such a minor amount. You would think they would get to it pretty easily, but yet it failed. And I got to say, I did an entire interview yesterday on Spark Street here in Ottawa with CBC about Natalie Provost blaming the failure of this program on the gun lobby and conservatives for disinformation. And I thought, how perfectly, typically liberal to blame everyone else for the failure of your program. Like, this is your program. You've got the entire weight and resources of the federal government, fully taxpayer funded, unlimited amounts of our money. You've got full compliance from the mainstream media to help you. How on earth do we, with a YouTube channel and a social media account, outweigh that, that David and Goliath situation? So anyways, I just threw my hands in the air and said, well, maybe they should look inside themselves,
look inside yourself.
Thank you.
Rose,
I would have said thank you. Be
like, yeah.
I mean,
good job on the marketing.
Be like, I appreciate you to give me the credit. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, Geez, I got a couple followers on Twitter, but give me a break. We're not that
Yeah.
powerful. I actually think it's just a matter of gun owners don't want to be victimized by this government. It's not that people couldn't understand it or that, there was disinformation or they didn't know how to do it. They don't want it, and now that the Supreme Court has agreed to hear our case, that's a game changer. I think most people are now holding the line, waiting out the eventual decision out of the Supreme Court. And those people who got scared, and they get beat up on social media. And I'm not here to beat up on people who got these threatening emails from the government. It's scary, right? You don't want to go to prison. You don't want to lose your firearm license. A lot of us are parents, grandparents, professionals, whatever. You don't want to ruin your life over your hobby. But at the same time, I think a lot of those people are sort of regretting it. So I have had a steady stream of emails and phone calls from people who have withdrawn and told me how easy it was. A simple phone call to the program, tell them you want to withdraw, and that's it. You're out. So
Now, Tracey, they can officially withdraw, but we don't really think that information's not going to remain somewhere, do we?
Oh, of course. Of course. Yeah, of course. The government has that information now. And if you were one of the people like me, I've got some that they know about. I've got a couple of AR-15s. They were previously restricted and therefore registered. So the government knows I got them. And then I got a whole bunch of other ones that they have no idea what I've got, right? And that's the entire reason for the portal existing, is so that you can go and self-report on yourself to the government. The entire program relies on gun owners turning themselves in. So it's sort of set up for failure. Now, some people did that, sure. And now the government knows that you have those other ones too. And that's a bad thing. But at the same rate, it's still no reason to comply with this program. So yeah, not a single person's been paid and not a single gun's been picked up. That's where it stands.
Wow.
You said something that I think is worth exploring a bit more, and that's kind of one of the problems that I have with the average gun owner out there is they see gun ownership as a hobby. I
Yeah.
never have.
No, me
I've
neither.
seen this as a right from God to have the tools I need to survive. Because if the economy continues going down the drain like it is right now, people will have to start hunting for their food. Like, people think this is crazy what I'm saying, but if you can't afford food, what are you gonna do? People are gonna find ways. If you live in the
Well,
woods, guess what? I lived in the woods for years, and I don't care what people have to say. Hunting is right there. I want the tools to hunt, and I want the tools to defend myself. So those are not hobbies to me, and I wonder what difference it would make in the power of the gun lobby and the legal gun owners' willingness to be involved if they realize that this is not a hobby at
yeah.
all. This is a way of life that could change your life eventually.
Well, and in the eventual situation, if there's some sort of economic collapse or, some other thing that goes on, it's not just your ability to hunt, it's also your ability to protect yourself, right? You have
Mhm.
to think about it. For those living in the forest, sure, you've got the ability to go out and hunt and provide for your family. Those in urban settings may be defending their family and their things from other people who need them, right?
Mhm.
And that a firearm would be the one thing that would make the difference between your family either starving or being taken advantage of, or worse, and not. So, yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. And I mean, at the end of the day, the purpose of gun control should be to prevent the misuse of firearms, not the use of firearms. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a good
we'll
point.
we'll see what happens. Yeah.
So Tracy, so this program is over. Are they trying to get out of this with some grace? Or are they just flat
No.
admitting defeat? Are they there's no putting lipstick on this pig, or what?
Oh, they're calling it a half win. It's funny, provost or police Souvian, I think, said, they got about almost half the guns that they were targeting. So it's a glass half full situation. And I laughed because, oh, they got, well, under half, so that's misinformation, but they got half of the guns said they would compensate for, not half of the guns that are affected. That would be a
Mm.
million firearms. This is such like an astronomical failure that they're willing to say anything to save grace. And their idea is to plow ahead with it, regardless of that. And I think, we're in a standoff now with the government because over the next coming weeks and months, they'll be looking to find a way to actually come and collect them now from those people that did do declarations. The rest of us who did not, that's it. We won't hear from them. But those who filled out declarations will now be contacted for an appointment to either turn in their firearms or to have someone pick them up. The government has very limited options on who can come and pick these up because, of course, law enforcement agencies across the country have refused to do it. So they're talking about using RCMP reservists. And I mean, the average age of an RCMP reservist, and I mean, I know lots of these guys, they're great guys, is 71. I actually spoke to a very senior, yeah. So it's going to be like the grandpa gun squad, I don't know. I was talking to an RCMP officer this morning, very senior, very long time serving RCMP officer. And he told me that not just this gun grab, but you go all the way back to the days of Allen Rock and the money and time and effort wasted on the long gun registry and gun control and gun bans and all the things up to this date. And he said the number of lives that these programs and this waste of effort and resources has cost is immeasurable. And it's funny because I watched a video once where the anti-gun lobbyists at Police se Souvient were sitting around patting each other on the back for all the, pretend lives that they've saved. That is, they have no evidence of that. They have nothing to prove that. And here I've got a very senior RCMP officer who's worked in homicide, worked solving murders and doing all this stuff, saying that this gun control and these gun bans actually cost Canadian lives. People have died because of the reallocation of resources away from combating crime. Mind blown.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a very, very good point. And, just up to now, at least, you can correct me if my estimates are too low right now, but we're talking over $800 million have been spent on this gun grab right now. And the number that they keep on using, the 50% half glass, the glass half full, is based on a number of 167,000 gun. That's a number I keep on seeing everywhere. And where did they get that number? Because I always hear your number around 2 million. So if you got 50%, you got, as you mentioned, 1 million guns. That's not what you got.
No.
You got something like just between 60 to 70,000. So we're still talking what, 3%?
Yeah, and
they got 50% of the 10% that they were hoping to get.
Yeah, well, they were never willing, and that's the whole premise, right? They were never willing to treat gun owners fairly. I mean, in a normal, functioning, fair society, people who bought these firearms legally, owned them without issue for decades, if not generations, used them. We bought them in good faith. They were perfectly legal. The only thing that's changed is the government. If this was really about collecting up those firearms because they're just too dangerous for us to own suddenly, which is bullshit, but if that's what it was really about, they would say, okay, we are going to compensate everybody fully and completely. They set this up for failure by making it that people just will not get paid. It says right on their website when you go to it, as soon as you click on it, compensation is not guaranteed. If this program was actually meant to grab up guns, they would just compensate you, right? If they want to build a highway through your property and tear your house down, they just have to compensate you. Unfortunately, they have the ability to do that in this country, but you have to be fairly and properly compensated. It's never been about that. They admitted it. So, when the other thing that I find interesting is not a single person or media or government agency out there has brought forward the actual numbers of firearms affected. And I'll tell you why. That information does exist. And Global Affairs Canada has been keeping import records for every single firearm, regardless of the classification, for 23 years. So at least going back 23 years, they know exactly how many GSG 16s were brought in, how many AR 15s were brought in, how many T97s, whatever. It's 2,500 firearm list. We know there's 90,000 AR 15s alone. So to suggest that the other 2,499 models that you banned only equal what, 40,000 guns is absolutely ridiculous. Now, the government will never come clean with these numbers. They've got them. They're there. And I'm praying that some media reporter out there does the homework and calls them out on it, because that will prove that we were right. It is upwards of 2 million. In fact, some of our math that we've done on this, just talking to importers, distributors, and trying to go back through those records as far as we can access them, shows it could even be as high as 4 million. But I'm very confident saying 2 million. So, yeah, I mean, they are lowballing that number intentionally, because if they told Canadians flat out, look, we're going to ban 2 million firearms from people who've done nothing to deserve it, we're going to grab them all up, and about 136,000 will be compensated for. Everybody else gets ripped off. It's public safety. Can you imagine? They can't say that. So that's where we are.
Not only that, but saying that we were able to get 60-ish thousand out of 2 million.
Yeah.
That's a problem, because that, again, 3%, that is not a success. I don't care how you look at it. You cannot claim this to be a success.
No, absolutely not. It is a total failure. And it shows, it's funny because you'll remember just the press conference a week ago before the program ended. It was very unhinged. You had Natalie Provost up there with the minister. She's the Secretary of State for Nature, but of course she's at every gun control announcement because that's her real job there. And she was up there with the minister and just unhinged, losing her mind. She shoved the minister out of the way to grab the mic. Like, it was the most, it was just the craziest unhinged thing I've ever seen. So wildly undisciplined for members of a federal cabinet, in government. It was nuts. And she was begging the media, please, please, please. She said, please, 8 times in a row, please stop. And basically what she was asking is stop platforming us. Stop letting the gun lobby
please
get
stop
interviewed for your news. And I
stop
thought,
doing your job.
we're the only people affected by these gun ban. We represent the only people affected. And you're begging the media to deplatform us and not let us have a voice in the very thing that's happening to us. Like, absolutely nuts. And of course, they didn't listen to her at all, because I think I did 7 big mainstream media interviews yesterday. So yeah, anyways, total disaster.
That's I mean, that's great work. Yeah, you definitely should feel proud about everything that you've done to push back against this. I remember we had Nico. What was that guy's name that we've had a few times on, the long-haired cat?
You're talking about Haggins. You're talking about Blair Haggins from the NFA, vice president of the NFA.
Yeah, we had him on a few weeks ago, and we had a very interesting chat about this program and how it's compensated. And he said, like you were saying, a lot of people are just not going to get paid. They don't know what they're going to get paid. And I think he said, when all's said and done, he said he'll probably spend $30,000 to $40,000 per weapon or per gun for the amount that they actually get, and something like maybe 1,000 of that 35,000 will go to the actual gun owner. The rest is in overhead, waste, bureaucracy. Because they like he said, these government lawyers, they don't work cheaply, and they've got hundreds of them.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, they've allocated almost $800 million to this gun grab program, but the money pot to actually compensate firearms owners is under, I think it's under 200 million now. They keep cutting it. And actually, it was Daniel Fritter from Caliber Magazine who did some math on this, but it shows that the cost of the bureaucracy of running the program, like the government administrative cost, is twice as much as what they're paying out for gun owners. So the more money they spend on themselves and the bureaucracy and the staff and the administration and all the garbage that goes along with running this program, the less they actually have to compensate people. And the problem here is, even if, let's say you're a gun owner and you got scared and you said, okay, fine. And you declared, 2 firearms, and you're like, okay, you will wait. Somebody will contact you. And like I said, there'll be either an appointment, some kind of exchange where you'll turn in your guns. Still don't get paid then. You haven't been paid yet. You don't get paid then. You give the government your guns. They go away with them sometime later. There's no information on how long that will be. They'll contact you after processing your firearm and let you know if you're getting anything at all. And there's absolutely no appeal process. So if they come back and look at your $3,000 AR-15 and say, yeah, we're giving you $15 for that. There's
crazy.
nothing you can do about it. Not a single thing. And you signed away your rights with that declaration. So it's over for you. You'll get your $15 and that's it. So that's why we're asking people like those who have declared, it's definitely not too late. Right up until the time that those guns are actually confiscated, like taken out of your hand. Right up until then, you can still withdraw your declaration. So I don't know. It's the craziest thing to me that any Canadian sitting back would support this, knowing that if they went off after criminals, even a quarter as hard as they went after us, this would be a far safer country. It's just nuts.
We had Daniel on the show from Caliber Magazine. Thank you for providing me with his information. And if my memory serves me right, his calculations are showing that on average, gun owners are getting about $1,800, while administrating fees are something around 23,200.
Yeah.
So it's not even a half. It's absolutely insane. It is literally not. I think it was 93%. I had calculated it. It was 92 or 93% of the costs is government employees.
Yeah,
not
exactly
what the gun owners are getting.
Yeah.
I got two more questions for you, and because we need to talk about your Supreme Court hearing, because that's something that could change everything.
Yes.
This is because, as you said, hold the line, hold the line, hold the line, and you should have t-shirts made. You probably do, but you should have 1 million of them made. But hold the line is what we should be doing, because by you guys being heard regarding the illegal ban, that overnight ban that was forced by Trudeau a few years back, like 2020. Well, it started in 2020. You guys are getting heard about that illegal portion. Was it constitutional or not? But one of the things that you're requesting is to put a stop to the gun grab while your case is heard, correct?
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, I know a lot of gun owners, excuse me, are nervous, although the date has come and gone for the end of the buyback program. And I'm just using air quotes for those listening to the audio, the gun grab itself, although that has come and gone. Now we're sitting in limbo waiting, and we have that amnesty that protects us from criminality, whether you've declared or not, right out until the end of October 2026. Well, the court works about the same speed as government, right? So there's a very little chance that we'll actually have an end to our case before that amnesty runs out. So we call it an injunction. Like in the lower courts, you call it an injunction. I think Rod said it's actually called a stay of execution, which is, I don't know, that sounds really serious. But anyways, sorry, my computer's ding-donging at me here. Yeah, we're going to be applying for an injunction to extend that amnesty and protect gun owners from criminality. There isn't really a way to stop them from confiscations because, of course, those are people willingly giving their stuff up to the government because they signed a declaration. So the only way to get out of that is to withdraw. We can't stop them from going ahead and picking stuff up from people who are willing to give it to them, which kind of sucks. I would like to, but it is what it is. It's a free country. If people want to do it, then that's their decision. But yeah, that's goal number one. That's very important. And in fact, we're going to be asking the government to just willingly do that. Do the right thing. There's a pending court challenge. You know, you've extended the amnesty for 6 years, right? These are guns so dangerous to own that you're forced to keep them for 6 years. So it's absolutely bananas. But they've extended that amnesty time after time as it is. What's another 6 months to let us get to the end of our case and see what's going on? And of course, not that we ever trust them to do the right thing. At the same time, we'll be applying to the court to force that. So, yeah, very important.
Nice.
I don't know if you had anything you wanted to ask, Rob, because I have one last question.
No, I think I'm good. Yeah, ask your one there, and we'll sign off after that.
Because I saw a video of you. I don't know if you're the one that posted it or I was just lucky enough to see it, but you were on mainstream media. You were at least on CBC that I saw, but you mentioned earlier that you did 7 different interviews just yesterday or today. First, thank you for your time, but I'm curious, did they do you justice? Because you saw, did you see the end result yet?
No, yes, it's so funny because I mean, I live here in Ottawa. We've been doing this for 10 years. I'm down at the House of Commons all the time. I'm with the media all the time. We do press conferences. Like we all know each other, right? And it's funny because they just call my cell and they're like, "Hey, do you want to come down?" And well, she actually called me. I was out shopping, and she's like, "Hey, I just wanted your reaction to what Natalie said about you. That it's due to your disinformation or whatever." And I went off on her on the phone, like, and she's like, "Oh, this is really good. Let's get this on video." So I ran down there and we did an interview. But it's so funny because I like to think that I interview well. I put a lot of effort into understanding my topic and knowing it. And I go down there and I'll talk for 25, 35, 45 minutes. They'll ask me a dozen or more questions, and I'm giving all these really detailed answers and they're scribbling down notes. And then I'll watch the video when it comes out. And I think it was CTV the other day, literally cut my sentence before I finished it. So out of the whole interview, 35 minutes, I got one sentence, but they trimmed it off and missed the last piece that I said. And I mean, whatever. It is what it is. It used to be that the anti-gun lobby would get a 10-minute spiel and we'd get absolutely nothing. So at least we're sort of getting on there. But yeah, it's frustrating running around, putting in all the effort and seeing one sentence come out. You just have to make sure every single sentence you say is completely perfect. Because that
Yeah.
way, if they're only going to use one soundbite, every sentence needs to be perfect and complete. So that's a focus of mine to make sure.
Are you allowed to record them? Because a lot of people out there, they get
Yeah,
interviewed, and you have a dude showing up with a camera, they microphone you,
I'm going to
and
tell you guys a funny story, and you're going to love this. So back in when was it? Was it 2020 or 2022? We did the Integrity March, and this was a protest that we held in Ottawa. 5,000 gun owners showed up. We marched around Parliament Hill. We had a route set up. It was beautiful. It was peaceful. It was full, like tons of people. And it's funny because, a bunch of media showed up. We had a lot of independent media showed up back in the day, like Andrew Lawton and those guys. They all showed up to cover it. This is long before he was an MP. And it's interesting because after the march was over, we went down to Spark Street and it was during the pandemic and all these horrible things happening to everybody. And it was actually like really good for our soul to spend some time with our people. And we're all hanging out and we're sitting there on a patio. It was a beautiful mid-September afternoon. The sun's shining. It's 22 degrees. We're enjoying a nice cold beer. And I look at my phone and there's a story from CBC about our march and they've got some pictures or whatever. And at the end of the story, it says, and the CCFR declined our offer for an interview or refused our offer for an interview. And I jumped up out of my chair, knocked my beer over, went running over to Rod. I'm like, look at this. And I'm screaming and yelling, holding the phone. We had done an interview. I did an interview with CBC right on the Hill. So I get on my phone and I'm writing on Facebook. I'm like, so angry, like this, tagging CBC saying this is BS. I did an interview with you. What are you talking about? I didn't refuse an interview. We did one.
That's
And
wild.
this guy comments in the comments and he goes, "Oh, I was standing 5 feet away from you. I recorded the whole thing with my iPhone." Bam! I'm like, buddy, I'm going to need that video. And we put it all over. We made them edit their story. And it was so funny because I was like,
But how many times do you not have a guy who happened to film it, right? Like this is the shit they do all the time.
I mean, most times I'm running around by myself, right? So
Yeah.
unless I was to set up my own iPhone, and I mean, I guess I could. I'm pretty much saying the same thing to all of these interviews. So yeah, my idea is that at least they're still calling. At least they're giving us some little piece in the story. There's a few that don't. There's a reporter. I can't think of his name right now. Bronskill, I think his name is, and he never really asks us for comment. And it's frustrating because he'll write a whole story, 6 paragraphs of commentary from Polly, and not a single thing. And at the bottom, he'll put things like, "Oh, a not-for-profit group is taking it to the Supreme Court." Refusing to even mention us, those who shall not be named.
Yeah, that is frustrating.
Yeah, it's nuts.
But it's good because you're always in high energy, you're always bubbly, you're always smiling, and that's probably the type of people they don't want
That's
as the person
exactly
that
it.
represents a gun lobby. Because
Yeah.
I've never met you. Hopefully, we meet in real life soon. But you're a small girl, right? You're
Yeah,
short by
I'm
what you
five
were
foot
saying.
two. Everyone says that when they meet me. They're like, "Oh, I thought you would be bigger." And I'm 5'2". I own little chihuahuas. I'm a grandma living in the suburbs. Like I'm literally a grandma in the suburbs, right? So I think people, I don't know, maybe they think I'm bigger. No, I'm just louder. But yeah, I have endless energy for this stuff because I just love my people so much, and it's just the right thing to do. Hopefully, we can sneak out a win, and I one day I can retire. Hopefully, I got to find some young firecracker who's ready to come and come under my wing, and I can teach them everything I know, and they can learn their own stuff. There you go. Yeah, yeah.
I like that.
One other thing
But I
before.
piss people off more than you do, though. I
Oh,
have a
I piss a
tendency.
lot of people off. I think if you followed my social media, and there may be people listening right now who can attest to this, if you followed my social media 10 years ago, like Rod has had to sit me down multiple times and be like, okay, Wilson, we need to talk about your behavior on social media. And even I was looking at on Canada Guns on Reddit the other day, and I was being torn to pieces for some AI picture I made for the web story about how to withdraw from the program. And I got these gun owners just eating me alive for my AI slop, and I was like, oh, I don't know. I was just trying to get the information out really quick. Like, who cares? Read the story. It's really important, right? Withdraw your from the program. And this guy says Tracy's so typical of like the boomer Facebook boomers who love AI. I was like laughing my head off. I'm old, but I'm not that old. So, anyways, I went and I gave his comment a like. I didn't reply to him, but I was like, yeah, whatever. You can't really hurt my feelings because I don't think I have any. But yeah, it's fine. Whatever. You don't have to like me, but you will put up with me. Yeah.
I love
Well,
it. It,
yeah,
it works
we
better
love
that
putting up
you're a
with you on
small
here,
woman.
Tracy.
Yeah,
I
we
got one
absolutely love
other
having you
thing
on.
I want to, if you don't mind, if I can just steal a
Go
couple
for it.
more minutes from you guys.
Yep.
Go for it.
So, we've been doing these rallies across the country. We did that huge one in Quebec, which was just knocked your socks off. And I got to say one thing about that. Everybody kind of picks on Quebecers, and they pick on Quebec gun owners in particular.
Mhm.
And I have to tell you, we've been to Cape Breton, we've been to PEI, we've been to New Brunswick, we've been all over. And we've had a couple hundred people show up every time. We go to Quebec, and I think we had like 4,000 people show up. It was insane. So kudos to Quebec gun owners because they put boots on the ground, and that is like a challenge to the rest of the country. So we've got 2 rallies coming up. I'm flying out next week to Halifax. So next Friday, April 10th, we will be in Halifax, right in front of at the Halifax Grand Parade, which is in front of City Hall. And we're going to rally against a gun grab there because the Halifax Regional Police have signed a deal with the Liberals to confiscate guns from their law-abiding citizens, which is nuts. And then April 24th, which is a Friday, after work from 4 to 7, same hours, we're going to be in Waterloo Region because they recently signed a deal as well. And we think these good citizens of Waterloo Region should know that their police force is prioritizing confiscating guns from people who haven't committed crime instead of out there protecting their citizens and their streets. So we'll be in front of Cambridge City Hall in Waterloo Region to protest that. So I know that there's a lot of people in the GTA who could make it over to Cambridge. It's not that far. And I don't know, I'm not trying to be divisive or pit people against each other, but are we going to let Quebec show us up with their 4,000 boots on the ground?
Yes. Yes.
Probably. Yeah.
You know I'm from
probably.
Quebec,
But we'll
right? You
see.
do realize that, right?
I
You do
know.
realize I'm from Quebec. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I love Quebecers. And I was like, yes, I'm on my way, Quebec. I'm coming. And just to see the massive support there, I was like, wait a minute. You got all these Western guys beating up on the Quebec gun owners, but they showed up like tenfold. So yeah, time for Ontario and for Nova Scotia to match that energy. So all the information can be found at ccfr.ca/events. It's all on there.
I think it's because we have all the extremes. We have the
Yeah.
biggest Karens in Canada, and
Yes.
we have the biggest gun nuts in Canada, but there's
Yeah.
not that much far in between. Far in between, it seems like. So we have
Yeah.
too much extremes. That's the problem, I think.
Well, and you know what I've realized too? Like, I don't speak French, but I am learning. I've been taking lessons and I've been putting in an effort. And so I show up in Quebec City at this rally, and with my girl Sophie Belange from the CCFR, she speaks very good French. She's probably speaks better English than I speak French, but she didn't used to. So we had a total language barrier, except we had our love language of guns. And I show up there and I get up on the microphone, and everyone knows me. They know who I am and they know I'm English, right? Silly Anglaise. And I get up there and I'm like, Bonjour, Quebec, je t'aime. And they go nuts. Like, as long as you try, they love it, right? So, yeah, I spoke a little bit of French to them and they loved it. But yeah. Oh, there she is.
I saved
Girl.
that from earlier. That was about half an hour ago, and
Oh,
I
was
wanted to
it?
make sure. Yeah,
That's
but you're
my
saying
girl. Yeah.
Sophie Bellin. Hi everyone,
She,
Tracy je t'aime. So there you go. That's the joke right there.
like we have often said, we need a French Tracy to combat the French media and go against these anti-gunners who all speak French, right? They're all stationed in Montreal. Well, we found her and it's Sophie. So she's a little firecracker. And yeah, she was very vital in planning that massive rally. She's just awesome. I just love her so much. So yeah.
Well, it seems like she feels the same way.
Yes.
Tracy, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for always accepting my invitation last minute too, because that happened yesterday. I really
Yeah.
want to speak to Rod too. We need to make Rod happen because he really seems like he's the one calming you down. So I
Yeah.
really
Oh,
want to meet that guy too.
he is the balance because yeah, my husband's a veteran and he always says if I didn't already have PTSD, you would give it to me. I'm a lot. And Rod is like that calm, reasonable, rational guy. So yeah, I think without each other, he'd be boring and I'd be out of control. So yeah, Rod said he will come on the show. It's just he was having dental surgery today. He was having teeth extracted. So
Oh Jesus!
he'd be a
He'd
big
rather
cheeks.
get he'd rather get teeth extracted than to come on the show. Thanks, Rod.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Ouch. Ouch.
Yeah, God,
But
that's a horrible way to look at it. But yeah. No, he'll come on. I told him you guys are awesome. And yeah, he's gonna make an
Nice.
effort and come on.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
well, I appreciate your time, Tracy. Thanks you as always. Thanks for the work that you do. And anytime, if you have something to put out there, unlike mainstream media, we will not cut your message to one sentence. We will let you speak for half an hour.
Thank you. I always have a lot to say, so I appreciate that. I love seeing you guys. Thanks for having me on, and we'll talk again soon.
That's always a
Absolutely.
pleasure, Tracy.
Have a good
Take
night.
care.
Bye, guys.
And there you have it.
Yes. Excellent interview.
She's just a very likable person. As a gun owner, you expect me to show up, a big guy covered in tattoos that like guns. You get me. You don't expect a 5'2" grandmother that lives in the
suburban.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Suburban grandma.
That's not what you expect, but that's what we need as gun owners to show you that it's a whole lot different people are involved with guns and we're not dangerous. We're not the problem. That's for damn sure. We are not the problem. Guys, I see a lot of new faces, especially coming from X today. So guys, make sure to like, make sure to share. We go live 7 to 8 Sunday to Thursday, and we always talk about the stuff that mainstream media does not want to talk about. So make sure to come back because we want to hear from you guys. If you're on X, make sure to join us on the YouTube channel. So yeah, that's my spiel.
Yeah. And I'll just add on to that. If you guys are new and you want to support the channel, please consider becoming a member. You can do that through YouTube for the low price of $2.99 per month. You can also, of course, buy us a coffee in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. And you can, another way to support the show, of course, is just keep coming back. Keep throwing those comments out there because that really helps us with the algorithm. keep liking the streams, sharing them, and yeah, help us grow the show so we can keep bringing you this high quality content every day. Well, not every day, but 5 days a week. Other than that, guys, excellent week. Have a great and safe weekend, and we will catch you on Sunday night. Peace.